Hello, my name is Kyle, and in this video, we will be breaking down how I intentionally break down my paycheck as a 24-year-old looking to build long-term wealth. And throughout this video, you will be seeing the exact steps from the moment money comes into my first checkings account and then everywhere it goes. We'll also be taking a look into why I do the things that I do, how I've set things up to make it super duper easy, and how you can also follow through and see my reasons for doing so. It's payday, woohoo! But what actually happens? I get paid bi-weekly, similar to most people probably around the world. And in this checkings account, I keep about 1.5 to 2 times my monthly expenses. So everything I spend money for in my credit card, I keep about 1.5 to 2 times that number in my checkings account, just so I have a bit of a buffer. And this account is literally just for money coming in. So e-transfers, direct deposits, that sort of thing, tax returns, sometimes even cash back from my credit card. Anyway, the money that goes into this account is just going in. I never spend from this account unless it's an e-transfer or a rent payment. But apart from that, everything I pay for is on a credit card. Credit cards accumulate rewards and points and bonuses. You should be making the most of that if you aren't already. So with that out of the way, the following breakdown I'm about to show you is how I'm able to spend over 40% of my incoming pay on savings and investments. Let's get into it. And before I learned how to break down my money like this, I spent about 5 or 6 years just keeping all of my money in a checkings account that made 0% interest year over year. And that money would just sit and it would lose value over time because it wasn't making any interest to compete with the rate of inflation. And 2 quick notes here. 1, my schooling was paid for. I'm aware of that. I'm very grateful for that. And as a result, I do not have school debt. So everything you're about to see is what I'm able to do with the remaining money without any school debt. Now, on top of that, I do live with my parents still. And while I am saving tons of money, I still do pay rent to live here, which that's totally fine. I understand. But it is nowhere near the amount of living in a big city. And so I'm able to save the remainder and also invest and put that into savings. So with that out of the way, let's get into what you should be doing in order to make this plan work for yourself. Now that the money's in the main checkings account, everything splinters away to find its new home. Why do I do this? The goal is so I hopefully don't have to see this money ever again. What do I mean by that? Putting money into investments, into savings, you put those away for either short, medium, or long-term goals. Investments at this stage in the game are usually going to be long-term goals. You want to have that in as long as you can. Short-term goals, like you'll see coming up, vacation funds, emergency funds, those will build up alongside your investments as well. But the goal is you don't want to see that money again because then you won't be tempted to spend that money if it is in your spending checkings account. And one big thing here is that I am paying myself first, which means that once that money comes into the account, I make sure to pay my future self first, which means putting money into my savings and investments before I'm able to use any of that money for present me. And guys, auto transfers will save your life. Please take advantage of auto transfers if you have the option. Most big banks and most online financial banks will have these auto payments ready to go. All you have to do is jump in, maybe spend 5-10 minutes to set it up. And now every single time you get paid, that money is automatically removed from your main checkings account and sent to all of your others. That's what I did when I finally set up my Wealth Simple savings account. I put money into Wealth Simple, and now every single month, I think twice a month, it will just pull from my main bank into that account. And this way you know exactly how much money leaves and when it leaves, so that when you keep track of all of this in your budget trackers, you know exactly how to plan for these. And while we're here, how many of you guys have auto transfer set up already? I'd love to know. Let me know down below. Now, I keep talking about all of these accounts. What are all these different mysterious accounts? What do they mean? What purpose do they serve? And how do I use them? My first and favorite account is my TFSA account. For those of you in Canada, that is your tax-free savings account. This is a registered investment fund in which you put in your after-tax dollars so that when you remove that money, you aren't taxed on it. All of that is tax-free growth. For me, that was the first account that I put money into. But as I get into the later funds, you'll see why maybe that may not be the right play for you. But I'll tell you what I did, and then you can make your own decisions from there. And a lot of people online say that it's way easier to set up a TFSA in an online financial institution. But for me, I found it was just fine at my main bank. They helped me out. It was great. Now, in this video, we will not be getting into what specifically to invest in terms of the stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, any of that. We're not going to talk about that. If you guys do want that video, also let me know. But the main point to look for is that if you are young, if you're in your 20s, look for a high growth investment, something that has the potential to reach at least 8% gains year over year. The reason we do this is because we can be more willing to take on risk because we're putting this money away knowing we shouldn't see this for the long time. So after 40 or so years, following the S&P's trend over the last 50, everything approximately grows about 8% year over year. Right now, I'm investing about $500 bi-weekly, so about $1,000 a month, into my TFSA to hopefully pump that growth as much as I can. And I do have goals to set that up more once I grow my income, but that'll come at a later date. Obviously, working on your income should always be priority number one, and then reducing expenses should be your considerations after the fact. But increasing your income is always going to net you greater gains, obviously. But once I do that, I'll be able to put more money away, but you'll see how I manage it in the breakdown coming soon. One thing that's important and also kind of underrated is just like anything else, whether it's fitness, whether it's nutrition, whether it's school, you want to set up goals for yourself. Medium, short, long-term goals, doesn't matter. As long as you're setting goals and you have a track to achieve that, you are on the right path. For me, my first goal in this TFSA is to hit $100,000. And you'll see a little bit later on, I did build a tool to see exactly when I'd hit that mark, but we'll get to that when we get there. Now, the second account is a high interest savings account, or sometimes known as a high yield savings account. The benefit to these savings accounts is that they usually have more interest compared to regular savings accounts, which means you can combat inflation a little bit better. So what this really means is that year over year, you're just making more money for having that money sit in that account as opposed to another account. The first high interest savings account that I created was for my emergency fund. If you guys don't know what an emergency fund is, it is about 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses saved up in one account so that if you get fired or lose a job or run into financial troubles, you have lots of money saved up ready to go to get you out of that hole. This is arguably the most important fund to build first. I didn't start here. Some of you may want to. I started with my investment account, as I stated previously, but the emergency fund is vital just to give you that little bit of cushion before you start making bigger moves. My first goal for this account is to be somewhere around $18,000. I'm about halfway there, which is super exciting considering I just started recently, but we are slowly but surely making our way towards that goal. At the time of recording this video, I'm putting away about $300 a month into this account. So yes, it is slow but sure, and eventually I will get there, but you'll see that later on. Oh, and one important thing about these high interest savings account, you want to look for an account that has about a 2% APY. And for reference, a regular savings account like the one that I had way long ago was about 0.1 to 1%. Even 1% is better than most savings accounts, shockingly. But if you can find one for about 2, 2.5, maybe even up to 4, you're balling. Keep that one going if you find a 4%. Now, account number 3, I have just recently merged with my emergency fund, because as a standalone account, it was making about 0.2%. And my high interest savings account, which is just the classic Wealthsimple checkings account, yes, for those of you that know, it is a 1.25% account, but it is significantly better than the 0.2 that I was rocking previously. I do have plans to move into a different financial institution, but I might give an update on that once I actually do it. Now, guys, listen, I have not traveled outside of North America ever in my life. So the idea with this vacation fund is to just funnel money as much as I can and be able to live through an experience somewhere to Europe or Asia. Those are my go-to places right now. But I would just love to travel more, and hence the creation of this travel fund. Now, in terms of my goal, I'm currently sitting at about $4,000 for this one. I am ideally wanting to hit about $8,000 per year. So every year I'd have an $8,000 trip to go on, which would be awesome. I don't know how feasible that is with the amount of money that I'm putting in right now, which is again $300. So into this amalgamated account, I'm setting about $600 per month. But I do have an Excel spreadsheet where I have broken it down so I know exactly how much should be in each one respectively. Now, account number 4, many people set up what's called sinking funds. And these funds are meant for any expenses that should be unexpected that you are expecting. So something like a car payment, maybe there's a chance of that happening. So some people will build a sinking fund so that every month, let's say you're sending in $40 a month. Now, 2 years down the line, when you have a big car payment, you already have a fund set up to deal with, let's say, a $700 car payment. And really, this just saves you from having to take that out of your main checkings account when you're in an unexpected situation where you have to pay a lot of money. But it is good to be prepared if you have that option available. Before we move on to the next step, I quickly want to reiterate why starting now, especially in your 20s, is extremely important. First, time in the market is better than timing the market, meaning that the longer that you have money in your investment accounts, the more money you will make over time. Warren Buffett started investing around 11 or 12 years old. Now, he didn't make headlines or anything until about he was 65 years old. And from that point on, he had so much money in his account that it just kept compounding over and over and over. And he just started seeing ridiculous growth after being in the market for already 50 or so years. And that's where the significant portion of his wealth was created, was in his final 30 years. Second, the sooner you start, the more knowledge you build and the better decisions you can make moving forward when something changes in the market. 3, you become way more disciplined with your money. The sooner that you can start and build up these habits and reduce your livable expenses and be able to put money into savings and investments, the more disciplined you become with your money, the more you start to realize the importance of putting money away first instead of just spend and never have any money left over after getting paid. Now, I did mention this briefly, but sometimes the difference is in millions, the amount of money that you can have in this account should you just start sooner. So if you haven't started yet, start. And number 4, money is supposed to work for you, not the other way around. Once you understand money and how to use leverage properly, you will see every purchase, every payment, every aspect of spending or playing with money in a brand new light. If you are enjoying this video so far, I would appreciate you dropping a like on this video as we move into the next part. The funny thing about money when you talk with friends and family is that you come in to find about 3 general profiles. 1, there's people who love budgeting and love looking at money, love talking about money and figuring money out in any way whatsoever. Number 2, you have people that think they do a really good job with money and they really don't. And number 3, you have people who completely wince at the idea of looking at money or budgets or spreadsheets at all. And those people usually aren't good with their money. And my truth, what I kind of have in my own head is that you will never know what's happening with your money unless you actually look at the raw data, at least for a little bit, a couple months. Learn monthly what you do, and you can see a little bit of a trend after about 6 months. And then after that, it's up to you. Okay, fine. You understand it. Awesome. Great. I do that with food tracking once in a while. I'll hop into MyFitnessPal and track some food. But after that, I get a pretty good idea of what I'm doing. Capiche? And personally, I created a bunch of spreadsheets to help me track all of this so that I don't have to worry about anything else. Everything goes into the spreadsheet. It's clean. I like it. Makes sense to me. And I'm good with that. The first spreadsheet we're going to talk about here is my Excel budget tracker. I love this one because I can easily see what all of my expected numbers are for the month and what my actual numbers are. All I have to do on this sheet is just log my transactions for the month, and everything else auto-populates as a result and shows me visually everything broken down very, very nicely. I'm going to shift to a bigger video here, but you can see where the income sources are, the expense sources, the savings, investments, debts, the bills, everything that you could possibly spend money on is all right here. And all you have to do down below in the transaction section is just line it up. It's all color coordinated. You put your dollar values and everything auto populates. And just quickly, guys, I wanted to make a quick note of how I use my expenses, or how I make the most of my expenses to make sure that I can put this much money away into my investments. So I apologize for the unprofessional view here, but I will put up this sheet one more time. If we take a look at my expenses, let me just make it a little bit bigger here. If we take a look at my expenses, yes, I do only pay $500 in rent. So again, I'm very lucky to have that option. My transportation to work, I'm about $280 per month, closer to $300, $320. But this month I was away on vacation, so I had one week less of payments to get to work. Groceries, I'm typically somewhere around $350 to $400. Again, I pay for all of my own food. I cook all of my own meals. And then we have health and medical. This I kind of include gym and a little bit of dental and whatnot. But this month I had a lot of dental expenses to do, and that's why this is at 453%, which is kind of nuts. Then we have entertainment. I count entertainment as my Netflix subscription, my my Spotify subscription, or anything fun that I go out and do, any sort of events, that sort of thing. So as you can see, it's only around $100, and this month was only $31. So I did do really well there. That is very low. That's one of the things I compromise on or sacrifice in order to have more money go to my savings and investments. Gifts here, I have an average of $50 expected, just because sometimes it's low, sometimes it's higher, I don't know. And then sporting events, I do play hockey once a week, and that is honestly quite expensive. And we did have a big payment this month, so that went towards that. Then I also have my running events that I do. Business expenses, for now, as I grow my business, everything I do is from my personal account. So I'm around $165 currently, which it is what it is. And then drinks, I'm a big energy drink guy. This also included some alcohol. I don't drink that much,
but this month I was on vacation, so I did happen to buy some, and then around $100 of miscellaneous. So all in all, that is about just over $2,000 of expected expenses for the month. And this month I'm just a little bit ahead by about a 2% more than I had expected. So that's not very good, that's not fantastic, but as you can see here, my savings and investments bang on 100%, and then my bills bang on 100% as well. A little fun piece about this sheet too is this where did it go chart. That way you can see exactly where your top 10 biggest expenses are. So as you can see here, my TFSA, obviously my investments is my main driver. That would be number one at 25%. Second is my rent at 500. And health and medical this month, again, this is quite high. And then I do have my emergency fund and travel as number 4 and 5, which usually would be 3 and 4. So right away, those are 3 big savings accounts that I put the majority of my after-tax income towards. And then you can see this cute little breakdown here. Nice and simple, nothing too crazy. And then if you wanted to see the proof of everything I've just said, it is right here in the transaction list. So it does look like a lot of red, a lot of expenses, a lot of money leaving the account. But hopefully these are going to be smaller payments and they are still less than what I make, which is the goal. And finally here, one thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing budget spreadsheets, at least I do this, is I have what's called, I believe it's called net zero budgeting, which means that here, if you look at your income sources, you want to see your expected income and you want to see your allocation equal that same number, so you don't even have a single dollar left in your checkings account to roll over. This means that every single dollar has a purpose, and that is the essence of this video. You want every dollar to have a purpose. If you have $300 extra sitting in your checkings account afterwards, it might be worth it to put that into savings and investments if you constantly have $300 just sitting and growing your checkings account, because again, your checkings account won't be growing that much money. Anyway, that is the sheet that I've built here. I hope to you guys it looks clean and cool, but this is what works for me, and this is how I do things currently. So with that being said, let's get back into the real part of the video.
Next, I built this TFSA tracker so I can see all of my TFSA stats and numbers so that I know about how close I am to maxing out my accounts and when. So as you can see here, I have my total yearly contributions all listed in this chart here. The total contribution all naturally adds up. And then I can see how many months until I am maxed at my current rate, which for me right now is about 19 months, which is awesome. That means I'm just over a year away, well, about a year and a half away. You can also see your total contribution room and your dollar value until you're maxed out. I have a lot of fun building these sheets. I plan to do an FHSA and a RRSP one down the line. I have not yet put money towards those registered accounts, but I do plan to create something just like this when I get there, because one, I think it's fun, and two, it just is a clean way of seeing the fun numbers in your investing accounts. And number 3, if you guys remember previously, I did say that I had merged my 2 savings accounts together. And this is the spreadsheet that I use to track where every single dollar goes that goes into that account, just so I can see a visual breakdown, even though my Wealth Simple app does not show me. So here you can see the amount of funds that I'm invested in, whether it's the emergency fund, the travel fund, the TFSA. Doesn't matter which one it is, there has an interest rate here, so I can kind of keep track of the growth over time. And then I do set goals for myself. So as I stated previously, I do have that 18 grand goal for the emergency fund, about a 4 to 6 grand for the travel fund, vehicle fund, which I haven't yet created, but it will be about 1,500. And then you can see some fun numbers down the line. All you have to see, you have your goal progress here, which is cool, estimated months until completion, also kind of neat to see. And then you have your typical bar graph here, which shows you just visually, it's very nice, very clean, how close you are to 100%. And all you have to do for this one is input your monthly contributions into each fund. And last but not least, this is the first spreadsheet I ever created. And as you can probably tell, it is the least visually appearing. I hope to touch that up down the line. But you can see here, I have 2 almost identical charts. We have the current data, which means that if you were to take a look at your previous month's bank statements and put all of those numbers into this chart, how would your money breakdown look? You can see these big charts here. They have your exact money breakdown by category, and then you have your goal allocation. So how would you prefer your allocation to look like down below? So in this one, you can see a pretty stark difference between the orange, the savings, and you can see also right here in the monthly income, they are identical. And so the first one here, this was me back when I said about 6 to 7 years ago, when I had a couple $1,000s to my name, working a part-time job, working school, whatever. You can see here that I was focused on the wrong things. Back then I had a blast. It was awesome. But now I can look back on that and think, man, I could have been so much farther ahead if I had just learned a little bit. And then the second one here is when I really started to get everything together. How does this money breakdown look? And as you can see, almost 50% of my take home pay goes towards these savings and investments, which is a huge win. I believe I'm not exact, it's very, very zoomed out at the time of recording this video with you, but I was about $500 a month in savings, and then I brought that up to about $1,600. Actually, matter of fact, this top example has got to be way less. I was not doing much saving at all back then, but I brought that up to about $1,600 a month, which is about 50-ish% of my take-home pay. I think just slightly under. This is a slightly dated chart, but I did just update it to show the visual breakdown. Are all of these tools necessary? No, probably not. But I do have all of the links down below if you would like to check them out. Some of them will be free links, some of them will be paid links. The paid links are the spreadsheets that I have put a lot of time and energy into. So if you do choose to support me and purchase one of those sheets, thank you so much. It does mean the world to me. And I hope that that spreadsheet can set you up really nicely to pursue your financial goals. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the next step. Now, this section could be its whole new video, but to keep it brief, how I plan to see things moving forward is one, I would like to get a second credit card. I want to do this one to help eventually increase my credit score, but two, utilize very, very specific purchases on that credit card. For those of you who aren't aware, I did state this briefly in the beginning, but each credit card has a different game to it. Some credit cards are really good for travel or food expenses. Other are really good for gas or groceries. It really depends. You should really take a look at the benefits that a credit card will provide you before subscribing to that card. But I think having a second credit card would be very important moving forward. And I'm thinking that maybe down the line, I would have that one credit card maybe just set up for all kinds of bills. So everything that's on an auto pay subscription or a bill like rent, utilities, electricity, whatever bills I happen to come by down the road, that would be just for that one credit card. And that way it's all automatic. I never have to worry about that again. I might even get a third card, maybe an Air Miles, maybe something along those lines. I don't know. We'll see. I'll make another video should I do that. The second thing I want to do moving forward is, again, set up an RRSP, a registered retirement savings plan. That is another registered account within the Canadian tax system, where you can set up an account that either gets money deducted from your paycheck before it gets taxed, or two, you set up your own account and you put in your after-tax dollars and then you get tax rebates at the end of the year, or maybe it's monthly, it really depends. But the benefit to the RRSP is you get tax benefits during tax season. Let's say you put in $1,000 every month into your RRSP. That's $12,000 at the end of the year. That will be deducted from your total yearly income, and then you will only pay taxes on the remainder. So that's huge. And as I increase my income, this will become a lot easier to do. But for the time being, I am just trying to pump my TFSA until it is maxed out, and then we'll probably start the RRSP after that, or maybe even just before I max it out. That way, everything I'm contributing to the TFSA will now all go into the RRSP. And as I grow my business, I will have way more to explain and way more to show you guys in terms of how I manage money between accounts and how I'm doing that moving forward in case you guys are looking at starting your own business and want to do that same thing too. Now you have seen exactly how I make the most of my paycheck and the exact goals and systems that I have to make sure that my wealth grows way faster than it would have if I had just kept all of this money in its own checkings account. Again, I will have all these spreadsheets in the description down below. If you choose to support me, thank you so much. It does mean the world to me. I hope these spreadsheets can provide you value. I hope this video has been very insightful and to see how you can spend your money, where that money can all go, and what the different accounts benefits can bring to you. I'll also put my Instagram link down below in case you guys do have any questions, and I will pop up a video somewhere probably here with more information about Canadian investing and the types of registered accounts. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.